Mine are The Eyes of God by Corrosion and Conformity. So as I've mentioned in other tutorials, usually something will kind of come to the surface that I'll want to talk about, and this song was no different. And what came to the surface on this one and transcribing it and learning it is precision. And I guess really right-hand precision, because it was really, it's a really demanding song in terms of your right hand and your alternate picking patterns. And in learning their songs, there was no shortages or firsts for me. And one of the firsts for me in this song was going through three picks. I'm a cheapskate. I don't like to change strings. I don't like to go through picks. I just use them forever as long as they last. But what I was finding out on this song is their interplay with downstrokes and then blast picking patterns of alternate picking and then upstrokes. As soon as my picks started getting a little worn, not very worn, but just a little bit, I was having a hard time executing the kind of blast alternate picking patterns. Also, on a side note, everyone has their own preferences, but I'll share what I've kind of leaned to over the past few years, or I don't know, decade or whatever it's been, is pick thickness. I think I used to play with like about a medium heavy, and my thought was it would add precision because I just wanted to do fast alternate picking patterns because that was my favorite thing to do and still is. And so I always assumed a thick pick would create precision. And I ended up playing with this guy, and he had picks that were a little bit thinner, and they would give. And what I noticed is that give actually helped with the faster alternate picking and with the precision. So just to plant that seed with you, if you happen to have not found your groove on what's kind of the best pick for you on your alternate picking style on that low E string, give kind of a medium light pick a shot, and the flexibility of the pick may help you out. It made a difference with me. So getting into the riffs themselves, I'll start on tab sheet 1. And the first riff that basically goes from 0 to 11 seconds is kind of an introductory, and most people will probably skip it because you're probably not going to want to dial in a tone. But dialing in the tone was kind of fun, actually. I kind of enjoy dialing in some of these tones, especially when you can get pretty darn close to what's coming out of the album. On this tone, if you want to try dialing it in, look at your ping delays, your reverbs, and don't be afraid to overlap them, like maybe a couple different types of reverbs. I would say the challenge with this riff is sometimes I'd get ahead of myself. It's kind of slower, and I found getting into the song, I don't know, subconsciously I knew the song was going to be faster, so I'd have to slow myself down on it. Let's see what the other riffs look like. So one of the core riffs at 25 seconds to, let's just say, 34 seconds. What's interesting about that riff is, for lack of a better word, the noise that it makes, the sound that it makes. It just, that kind of pattern of playing, and the muted strings and that, I'm kind of drawing a blank, but for some reason that picking pattern and chord progression for me didn't seem like it was going to generate that riff, but it generates that riff. So that was intriguing about it, is that kind of feel of a riff. I'd probably never have backed into creating something like that on my own. And So that's an interesting one. Maybe it's a good one for you to spend some time on, and maybe kind of register it in the back of your mind to kind of create your own variations of it whenever you're noodling around in the future. So let's go into tab sheet 2. Oh, this is the coolest riff. So if you look at 37 seconds, this is a riff while you need to learn a song, and you know it. It's probably why it's one of the best songs on the album. And if you look at the playthrough, it's a really interesting riff. Your right hand's flying, and then you pause, and then you nail that harmonic. So to reiterate, this is a riff while you're learning the song. So learn it, enjoy it, and it's a cool riff. I surprisingly don't remember struggling with the riffs on the song. But I suspect it's only because I saved this song till last, and I learned every other song on the album, and it built my ability up. So if you're coming in and you're jumping straight on this song, and if you are struggling with it, go back and learn all the other ones. It'll work for you. It worked for me. Let's see what else is on here. Let's go to tab sheet 3. Tab sheet 3 doesn't stand out to me on anything too noteworthy, at least for giving you a narrative overview of it. Let's take a look at 4. Tab sheet 4 looks like a kind of a repeat of what's already been laid out on the other tab sheets. Let's go to tab sheet 5. You know, tab sheet 5 has something that's kind of interesting. And when C.O.C. repeats the riffs throughout the song, at the end of them, they tend to add a little, I called it earlier, like MSG on one of the other narratives that I've done. And that's kind of their little sprinkling of seasoning and a little bit of flavor and riff variability, and they usually tack it on at the end. And at the 2 minute and 6 seconds, you'll see that I've got it says an inaudible count. Yeah, I couldn't make out what the hell they were doing there. It was muddy. It was muddy at different speeds, and kind of sounding like alternate picking patterns of open string. But in different areas of the song, there'll be, I don't know, maybe like a slide or a different picking pattern, and that'll be transcribed here. So let's go on to tab sheet 6 and see what's going on here. It looks like it's more of the same riffs that we've already gone over. Let's go to tab sheet 7. Not seeing anything that needs to be discussed there. Tab sheet 8, kind of more of the same. 9, tab sheet 9. This was interesting. So again, you'll see that inaudible count where I was talking about the 2 minute and 6 seconds and 2 minute and 7 second mark. I found that as I was playing these songs, one of the toughest aspects of it, after you kind of get the muscle memory down for the main structure of the riff, is to learn all that little riff variations that they tack in at the end, that kind of monosodium glutamate, little extra flavor. And so what I did on this time is I literally put them out side by side. So if you look at, it'll say order of ending riff variances. So it's literally how those riffs end each time they repeat throughout the song. And that, just having them in one little section right in front of me, worked for me cognitively. Otherwise, it was like I'd have to play the song 25 times and still try to remember where those little variances were and inevitably miss them. So yeah, that's why that's there. Then the last sheet is the solo sheet, and I kind of feel a little lucky that it was all able to fit on one screenshot. So one of the things I want to mention about the solo, and it isn't so much about this solo, it's about if you yourselves want to try to transcribe one for the first time, because this was pretty close to the first one I've done. And hearing it at the beginning and some of the stuff early on, especially there was this little muted power chord thing at the 3 minute 15 second to 3 minute and 22 seconds, right in the middle of there. I was like, what the hell is that? And so what I want to suggest to you is, pick and choose what's obtainable when you first start transcribing something. And what was obtainable for me wasn't the beginning of the first solo. It was the solo that was towards the end of the song at 4 minutes and 26 seconds. I was like, I'm able to pick out these notes. I'm able to discern them. And so I started there. And I think in a lot of ways, I started from there. And then on that kind of main solo that was in the middle of the song, I might have worked on some of the last notes of it forward, opposed to forward and back. It was just basically, grabbing whatever was obtainable and then starting from there. And that kind of created a pivot point for your hands to work around. It's like, okay, I can find this note, even though it's towards the middle of the solo or at the end of the solo. And it sounds like their hands are in this area. And it kind of, again, this point of reference, pivot point, where you can kind of arc out from there or kind of spread out from there to find the notes that you need to find to kind of match what's going on in their solo. So it became that focal point, and it built out from there, or from the back of the solo and work to the front, or whatever it is. And I'm going to assume every solo is going to be unique. So maybe it'll be easier to tack it front to back or something of that nature. But this one, I just, would listen to it, grab whatever notes were resonating with me and that I was able to single out and go after.